Hello, Ambush. Yeah, Ambush sounds way cooler. And welcome to the Desert Tiger Podcast. And I am your host here on the DTP. My name is Colton G. And this week we are joined by Lexie and John, the duo known as Featurette, as we discuss their album Dream Riot, which drops today. That's right, today. And we're going to get more into exactly who Featurette is before we get into our conversation with them. You guys know how we roll here, unless you're new. If you're new, maybe hit that subscribe button and catch on. I think you guys are going to like what you hear. Anyway, besides that, like I said, there's a few things we're going to want to take care of first. Have you checked out our new vlog? I've been talking about it for a while, how we're going to start doing video content for like all of 2019 and then completely drop the ball for like all of 2019 and do it. Well, now we have it. Go and check out Desert Tiger and on YouTube, and maybe go and give us a subscribe over there too. It takes you a little bit behind the scenes of the Desert Tiger Podcast and my life. I also want to go and take a quick shout out to www.ilovedtp.com, because not only is it the best place where you can support the podcast, it's also the place where you can go to represent the show every single place you go. All right, let's do this. The dark dream pop duo known as Featurette are ready for their latest vision to burst out in a Dream Riot. Dream Riot is the sophomore album from tag team Lexie, J, and John Federson, and it shows the group's growth with an array of deep themes and stories, combined with a sugar-sweet beat. Teaming back up with Mark Coker, who produced their debut album, Crave, as well as a new collaborator in producer Pillsbury, Featurette builds and refines their already powerful voice and tackles topics like social media, the environment, and overcoming bullies to embrace your talents and who you truly are. Coming off the incredible reception for Crave, the group saw numerous opportunities with radio and TV placements, being a top 10 finalist for Juno Masterclass, and opening up for the likes of Walk Off the Earth, Ria Mae, and Neon Dreams, to name a few of those things. Featurette looks to carry this momentum forward with Dream Riot, while inviting you in to experience their reality and become comfortable with the idea of never fitting in. Yeah, well, I think it's about that time that we kick off this interview by introducing you to Lexie and John and letting them tell you a little bit more about themselves. And of course, for those of you who have been around for a while, how do we like to get that started? That's right, Ambush, we like to play some music, so we're going to be playing you some of the singles that have been dropping off of a Dream Riot leading up to this album. We're also going to be playing you the latest single that came out today later on this episode, but we're going to be starting off things with the first single that dropped for Dream Riot. We're gonna hear all about it in this episode. We're also gonna hear a lot about the music video, which is actually pretty dang epic if I don't say so myself. And this song is entitled Million Things.
'Cause I got a million things, fast cars and diamond rings. Well, I'm down on love, stars from above. The time that we're getting is just not enough. I got a million things. I don't know when we got here, babe, but I don't see you anymore. that's what it's all about. We had a plan for us, it's time to try it out. Gotta make it up if we're gonna play, gotta pray that we'll turn it around. Cause I got a million things, fast cars and diamond rings, but I'm down on love, stars from above. The time that we're getting is just not enough. I got a million things, cause I got a million things, fast cars and diamond rings, but I'm down on love, stars from above. The time that we're getting is just not enough. I got a million things. Little chip here, another tear there, then we go around the wheel again. Is it worth putting in this time just to say that we're on the mend? You know that I love you, babe, but why we gotta pretend? I know that you love me, babe, so why? Cause I got a million things, fast cars and diamond rings, but I'm down on love, stars from above. The time that we're getting is just not enough. I got a million things, but I'm down on, I'm down on love, do it fine. I'm down, I'm down on love, do it fine. I'm down on love, do it fine. I'm down on love, do it fine. I'm down on love.
The Desert Tiger Podcast.
Hello, Lexie. This is Colton from the Desert Tiger Podcast.
Hey, Colton, you got me and John. How you doing?
I am doing fantastic, and how are you and John today?
We're great. It's very gray here, so we're just going to try and make the most of it.
Well, hopefully the gray and the seasons don't get you down. I mean, you guys have a lot of exciting things on the horizon, so I mean, you have lots of reason to see your way through that.
You're super right. We absolutely do.
I like the positivity. It's good.
Yeah. Can you call every morning? This is already going better than most mornings.
I mean, we can try and fit it in, I guess.
Yeah.
See what we can figure out.
Cool.
We are here with the duo known as Featurette, that of course being Lexie and John. Would you guys like to introduce what you do with the group and a little bit of, what you bring to the table?
Hey guys, so we're an electropop duo. There's just two of us. I'm the singer.
And I'm a drummer, and we do programming and production together.
Yeah, and we make sort of dark, edgy, really out there electropop music.
Very, very fun, very, very danceable, and yet, like you say, very dark at the same time. The lyrics are kind of hit you in a very deep way. And how did you guys end up meeting? Because from what I can see, one of you has a little bit more of a classical, more of a scholarly background, while the other one maybe a little bit more self-taught. So how did you guys end up coming together?
So we actually both have the same scholarly background, but John's background is in the jazz part of the world, which I could see. So it doesn't
count to you.
Yes, it doesn't count.
Count it.
But we both went to U of T, University of Toronto, for our respective majors. Mine was opera and John's was jazz drums. But we met like way before, well, at a way different point in our lives. We met at a band camp, actually, where I was teaching violin, which is not even voice at all. And John was playing guitar at this point at the band camp. So we both met over guitar, which is something neither of us excel at. And we're very self-taught.
Yeah, so in terms of the guitar, I'm very extremely self-taught, like painfully self-taught.
There's a reason there's no guitars in our band, and never will be. So
we have a no guitar policy now, so far for the band. None allowed. I can't be tempted to go back and think I would play.
Unless somehow someday one of you proves to the other one that it can be done, it's a strict no-go.
Yeah, I think we're both on the no-go side. Actually, I would say it's part of how the sound of our band formed. So I'll tell you the story in the brief tale. John was playing guitar for the faculty concert at this band camp. He was trying to show all the campers that, like, it's okay to do something outside your comfort zone, because he's there as drum faculty, obviously, and he was like, okay, we're going to shake it up. I'm not even going to show them drums for my faculty performance. I'm going to do something totally different and try not to fail at it. And we figured two people failing together was slightly better than one person failing alone. So he enlisted me to his guitar army of two. And we actually loved playing together so much that we just jammed afterward. And I had the little songbook from high school that I whipped out, and we played through some of those songs and actually recorded them thereafter, and went on to be a folk band for a hot minute before transitioning ever so slowly over more than a year, I would say, to our actual sound that became Crave, which is that sort of dark electropop, moody thing that we've got going on.
Oh, I was about to ask if you had tried a few different instruments or other things beforehand, but there it is. You guys were a folk band originally.
Yeah, and no one ever saw it, except that group of counselors. They might have blackmail on us. We're not sure.
Yeah. We actually found the first, like, I think the last day before the camp left, we, like, grabbed, like, a hallway, and we sat down and recorded the song, and I took it back home over the summer and, like, you know, try to edit around and, like, try to make it salvageable.
Oh, we have the demo.
And it showed up one day, and I was like, oh, good Lord, like, this can never see the light of day.
It's
like,
truly bad. It's very not good.
And then after that, I started replacing all of my bad guitar playing with electronic stuff. And I said, you know, this would be cooler. So that's how we became Featurette.
We're both keys people. that was both our, you know how you, like, if you practice music growing up, it's sort of like the piano or the guitar. That's like the basic thing that you do as a kid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Piano people. That's just what it was. So we leaned into our strengths, as it were.
Okay, so you guys decided to lean into your strengths, and that led you to your debut, Crave. So you said that you had a songbook already. Were some of these songs that came for Crave, were they some things that you had written before that you decided to craft for the band, or were these new songs that you guys had written together?
Some of them were word for word, actually. Memorize, which was one of the folk recorded songs, was a song that I'd written on guitar in high school. Well, piano/guitar, but it's easier to take a guitar with you places. I don't know if you know that. But yeah, Memorize word for word was in that songbook, and I think there were snippets maybe from some other songs as well. Yeah, a lot of those formed when we met our producer and we started changing our sounds a little bit. So we worked with two friends of ours who are both music producers, Josh Sadler-Brown and Mark Kosher, and they were a big influence on some of those, like, I guess, uglier sounds that you hear in Crave. Like, it's not squeaky clean and always nice sounding. Like, we really liked the grit to the sound to sort of aid that darkness and make it a little more interesting than just, like, synth pop 80s style. Like, it's not that at all. It's something else, I would say.
And sometimes that grit is what helps make things unique, and rather than it being, like, perfect, which it would just, like, line up with a lot of other things in that way.
Totally, exactly.
So before you guys had made the transition to the pop side of the world, and before you guys had even met each other, like you said, you met each other at a camp and, like, you're kind of working, but had you really taken on much of the live side of music before then?
Not in the way of Featurette, not at all. Before then, it was sort of like kept to ourselves. Like, we both had performance backgrounds, I would say, but it wasn't Featurette. Like, I had this opera performance background. John had jazz drums performance. He was a gigging musician already, but never in the way of Featurette. I'd say probably overwhelmingly jazz up until a certain point. And then he was in a rock band as well called Fire by Fire that had a good little stint, and Crash Parallel and some other projects he was in, but I was straight out of school. Like, so I had performance background, but and even from my high school, like, we both went to the Etobicoke School of the Arts, at different times.
It's like fame.
It's like Fame High School, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like people literally burst into song and dance in the hallways. It's super dramatic there all the time.
So half your day you do your art specialty, and then you do minor specialty, and then you like cram in, like, can you read?
Cram in calculus.
Can you actually do, like, get your degree, diploma, or whatever?
Yeah.
Then off you go, right? It's
Yeah.
pretty intense.
And music theater, just as a general idea of a craft, is like very intense as well. So I had a lot of performance background already, but again, super different style of performance than any sort of pop music or anything alt or anything like that at all. I remember the first gig that we ever played was at the Hard Rock Cafe, RIP, in Dundas Square. It's a Shoppers Drug Mart now. That's real sad. But I remember just like not even understanding that I needed to be near the wedge in order to hear. Like I was like maybe 20 feet away from the wedge, and just nobody told me I wouldn't be able to hear clearly. It was the funniest thing. Oh my gosh. So we've come like really, truly a long way.
So yeah, completely different stage, completely different presentation, and a completely different audience for sure.
Yeah. Like what's a microphone? We didn't use those. You freaking projected. That was your craft, right? Opera, I would say, is pretty much the opposite of anything to do with mic technique, right?
Did you have to teach yourself how to sing differently with the microphone?
I would go as far as to say I had to teach myself how to sing again. Like maybe not on stage. On stage, I use a lot of music theater techniques, just in the way of like breathing and things like that. Like there is something you can do to like jump up and down and like still feel like you're not going to die while singing, right? So that stamina, I would say I apply there. But like in the studio, oh my gosh, you're making these like quiet little straight tone noises. I'm used to making these like loud ass vibrato noises. And it was so different. It was so different. You can hear it honestly from that record to this record, how much me and my character have evolved in the music just from the quality of the singing. It's not better. It's just different. Like it was so like almost lifeless in a way in Crave, and that really did suit the character at that point. But now like she's all grown up and she's figured out her shit and she knows what she wants and she's ready to like put that influence into the sounds that she's making. I say she, it's me, but it's her.
Okay, so there's a character involved behind the scenes as well, sort of.
Totally. We call her Featurette Girl.
I actually just finished watching some of your music videos, so we'll skip a little bit ahead before we come back here. So is the Featurette Girl the what the music videos are mainly focusing on?
Totally. Like my life. So which music videos did you watch?
Oh, so I watched the 3 latest singles were the one I watched right before this interview. I've watched all of them, though.
Great. So like Million Things, Don't Know Me Without You, White Rabbit.
Yes.
So yeah, like my life is not like that, like at all. I in my life, I not to demystify it or anything, but like I run a company and I am like a head in a glass jar that handles emails all day, and I get to be creative when I'm her, when I'm that, but also I get to be sort of confident when I'm that. So when I'm being Featurette Girl on stage, like I myself, Lexie, am a pretty introverted person most of the time. And then I get to like be this lion on stage and not like feel bad for it, like not feel like, oh, I'm faking, like I'm being something I'm not. Like I just become this other person. And very much in the music videos as well, like Million Things, like I don't live in a mansion, okay? But but in that fantasy, in that mini featurette, if you will, I did, right? And that's how like her life would have been. That was like her daydream about how social media affects us all and like trying to put our best face forward when we're really lonely inside, right? Because she's like all alone in this mansion with these like creepy ghost butler people, flower-headed bunny head men who like, are they even there? Like, do they even exist, right? Because all the characters that you saw in those 3 music videos, they were all sort of a figment of your imagination. I would say they all had masks on. You never really got to see their faces, just as you don't in a dream, right? It's a very like dream-like state that we've tried to create. Hence the album title, Dream Riot.
Okay, so it all ties in together. So I'm guessing you guys have a very big hand in the creation of the music videos as well, then.
Oh yeah, we are the creative, 100% of the creative. In fact, was the art department for all of those videos.
Oh wow!
Lexie made the masks for the for a million things, and White Rabbit. We went on Etsy and we built the rabbit head.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
We built it ourselves. Like, it's all like, if you follow our Instagram, there's a lot of like DIY crafts that happen on there because we're always making some music video or conceiving of some way too lavish idea to try to do on a small budget. It's pretty fun.
I also think it's one thing that we do is Lexie and I like would be probably the most hardworking human I think I've ever met. Like, insane. Like, okay, we've done a whole day of work. Now what do you want to do? Well, let's build the rabbit head till 2 a.m. Like, that's the type, and then we'll do more recording or whatever it is, right? Like a relentless drive to get things done. But also it's because when you're an indie band, you know, you can't rely on other people to get what you're about, I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like, I don't want to trust somebody necessarily with my vision. I want to take it over the top, and I want to tell my story now, and I don't want it to be like necessarily someone else's vision. Like, there is a director that worked on us with 2 of those videos that you saw, and a different director that worked with us on White Rabbit. But mostly from like an artistic perspective, all the storyboarding is sort of something I bring to life, and something that I have the biggest hand in creating the visual aspect of, like the flower headed people. It's like, that is my idea.
but it's important because, you know, the whole album Dream Riot is sort of based on this concept, right? And certainly Crave, our first album, like what we try to do with Featurette was, you know, my original idea of having a band that didn't have to have album cycles, even though now we've done we've done 2 album cycles as it turned out. But I thought, you know, wouldn't it be nice to have, you know, a band that could do whatever that it wanted to do. It could do a 3-part mini EP. It could do a full album. It could tell stories, right, that were a little bit more cohesive rather than just slapping together singles. I think I was in a couple bands that did pretty well, but they got sort of taken over by that, you know, a big brother upstairs telling us what we needed to do for success. And I thought that actually compromised
The artistic vision.
Actually, yeah, compromised the band. It turned out they're listening to other people didn't necessarily lead them to the right direction. And there's something about what happened with those bands that they lost this, like, I guess, connection with their audience, and people just didn't gravitate towards the original work that they did the same way as the secondary work as much as the original work. So we're trying to avoid that. So, not to like we think we storyboard everything out that we want to do, but we certainly try to, you know, make everything make sense for each release. So that's it takes a long time, but it's pretty fun. Like, I don't know, the videos have been really fun this year to do.
Oh,
to tell you the truth.
And I think that's the biggest difference too between Crave and this record that's coming out, is that Crave was we tried to organize it as like a through composed story, like it's a relationship from beginning to end. And we had 2 video releases for that album, and it was the first song on the record and the last song on the record, and they very much tie into each other. And then we had 2 just standalone releases after that, and had a video for one of those that was Bang. And when we filmed Bang, we sort of discovered that, like, what if we just did each video as like its own little world? Like, it just did total isolation from any of the other songs around it, because whether or not the songs make sense together, and they do, what if like the visual story you tell was like a different dream each time? So like White Rabbit is so different from the other 2, and the other 2 are different from each other, and they're just like each end of the music video world, sort of, they live as far apart as possible. And I think we did that so that we could show not only the versatility of the project, but just like imagine different worlds for it. You know what I mean?
Well, it also shows the versatility of the songs as well, because it's showing them in a different light. Because for Million Things, or for
Totally.
Don't Know Me Without You, say, like, maybe you don't understand the concept of exactly what the song is about, but like you see the 2 shadow masked figures like dancing together, and it's almost like a battle between each other, like back and forth, and like you kind of
Totally.
and you kind of like begin to understand, it's like, okay, so like that's also like a visual representation of just like that inner battle.
Totally. And the light and the dark of it all, and the like, who's this person chasing you, and like, why is there always someone chasing you, and then it's your damn self, you know what I mean? So totally, because it's hard to get that when you just hear the song. And I think a lot of people, there are some like super fans who will listen to the lyrics and like dissect it, and then like, you know, Facebook you and be like, what does it mean, or like DM you and be like, can you explain this part? But like most of the time I would say that's not the thing. People are like, that's such a bop, I would love to play it on repeat, but they won't like dive into it necessarily. And a music video dives into it for you. You can't help but learning more about it, right?
Definitely. It helps add to the mythos, the idea, and like you said, the sort of mini featurette, which was something that I loved that you said there, where it gives that other idea to the name where I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, that was John's idea. All of that was John. Brilliant, John.
It is brilliant, because as soon as you said it, it clicked in my head, and I was like, I've been researching this band for days now, and I didn't even like think of that.
There you go. Now you know.
That's incredible. So you guys said that one of the biggest things in between Crave and Dream Riot is the cohesion with the album, and definitely the ideas and the representations of them. What were some of the other things that helped with the transition between these albums?
Well, I think we had two things sort of happen. I think we had some time after Crave. We spent a long time kind of like doing our indie circuit here. Like things went, like the response was good. And I think we did a couple things that prevented us from releasing a lot of music. We were, playing a lot of shows. We were touring. We were doing, this and that. And I think we did 2 releases. And I think the second we did Bang and then Upside Down.
Yes.
And I think we did Upside Down. It was kind of a political statement. We really know that the U.S. election, and we're like, oh my gosh, like we're kind of in shock, and so we wrote that song, and I think that song was we took it to Mark. So what happened? Just up here with our production team, we have 2 very good close friends of ours, Josh and Mark, who worked on Crave with us, and Josh was working out of New York City, and he wasn't around, and so we sort of wrote more songs, didn't produce a lot of songs to their entirety, because we thought, well, we wanted to do that process again. And I think what happened during that time was we realized that getting Josh and Mark together just like wasn't going to happen.
It wasn't feasible.
So we started just, taking things on, ourselves a little bit more. I think that's really changed the way we wrote. I think a lot of things, sound design changed as well in the couple of years between Crave and now. We really got into like
we had other influences. Yeah, we had future bass influences. Like we were starting to listen to like Flume and Petit Biscuit and like other things that we just didn't listen to before, and wanting to draw on those sources.
Yeah, they're just so like the sound design is so awesome. We have to start like learning how to do that. So I think that took a little bit of time for us, and I think melodically also, I think a couple things have changed with us. Yeah,
like for a time there, when we were writing those songs, I think we were looking to go more of a pop crossover route. And like now that we're like right on the brink of release, we're like not, like, we've evolved again. We're like not looking there at all. And I think the reason is our music, although very hooky and pop format and like could be produced in a pop way if you had a pop singer on it. We're not that kind of a band. Like it's not like, I don't know, the songs have more storyboarding to them than they should for a pop song or something like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was just that we wanted to evolve our sound, and our main producer, Mark, really grew with us too. Like we all wanted to do more complicated things, be it in sound design or just like generally the way the sounds go in the songs. And we worked with another producer as well, Pillsbury, on a couple of the songs to make them a lot more pop format. And in doing that, we just learned how to write a better song, basically, because pop theory in writing a song is so different than alt. Like you can do whatever you want in an alt song or even a rock song. Like there kind of aren't any rules. There's things that'll hit better than other things. But as far as actual like rules, like there are rules in pop, like hard rules that you like kind of must follow if you want it to make sense. Like it has to be like 3 minutes, and you have to hear this hook so many times. And whenever you write your first hook that you think is going to be your chorus hook, just make that your verse and then write a better chorus. It's like one of the big rules we learned. And but I think in doing that boot camp with like a pop producer, we were able to sort of hone our craft as far as like, okay, what's going to get stuck in people's heads, And I'm not saying that like this is all that. Like not every song is the same as the next for sure. And I think everybody's going to gravitate towards different things. But I think it'll be a lot more of an earworm, perhaps, than some of the first stuff that we put out. You know, like, because Crave, it's cool and it's edgy, but it's more underground. Like, this is like really like, hey, we're here, we have arrived, we're trying to pop our heads out. Like, that's what we're trying to do with this album.
I think as Dream Riot, just to cap it off, what we like about this album is that your first pass on it, like, it's really impactful. We've got like a lot of the things that I love about what we do. We have like punchy drums. We've got lots of rhythmic things as a drummer, obviously, right? We've got sounds that are, you know, harmonic, but also they're percussive. We've got, you know, a lot of that, you know, a lot of glue between the sounds that like are really interesting and evolving. You've got Lexie singing great, really strong material. But the second pass, third pass, you go, what does she say there? Oh, she's not actually that happy.
Yeah.
Like a million things.
The songwriting has really developed. We wrote for Million Things. I think like the write-up that we did for it was like, what is it? Really dark lyrics wrapped in bubblegum beats or something like that. Not exactly those words, but even the songs that sound happy on this record have that sort of dark edge to them. That like featurette thing that we've already established in the first record. We've drawn it into the second record, but made it more relatable, digestible. You know what I mean? But not worse. I still think it's better.
We had someone say to us, someone kind of fairly important to us, once say, hey, you guys write such like happy music. And we're like, wow, we knew at that time that person like had not actually really listened to us.
Yeah, it's a great litmus test. Like, do you actually know what's going on? Like, you guys write happy music, and we're like, no, never once in my life. It's at the best melancholic. But yeah, and in this record too, I would say one of the bigger differences that really helped us grow is I have a lot more songs that are directly about my past or my present or things that are happening around me. It's less theoretical. It's less featurette girl, and it's a lot more me this time, which was, you know, a difficult thing to grow into because some of that stuff is really personal and not something I would willingly just walk into, but at the same time, it's something that needs to be said. So, like, we're writing about like the environment, like actual traumas from my past, like great relationships from my present that are based in anxiety and depression and need a boost. And so we're writing uplifting music for that person. Like, there's just like a lot more real happening. And we're going to try to do a write-up on each song too, so that people know what they're about. And we're going to release those on our Instagram as the songs roll out.
Awesome. That's kind of cool. Gonna give everybody a little inside look on everything in that extra depth, because like you said, sometimes on the first listen, maybe you don't hear it. Million Things, you hear, oh, we've got all this stuff, maybe things going really good, like it comes off in like a happy voice, but then you listen to it, and it's like, okay, you've got all these things, but like, what really do you have? Yeah,
when you're all alone, nobody to share it with, right?
Absolutely. Or you like even just like the glass wall of social media where you think like you're sharing it to some people who like maybe care, but at the end of the day, like how much do those people like actually care about you as a human being?
Totally.
Which is zero.
Yes. All right, we just found out all about the song that you heard at the top of the show. That, of course, being A Million Things. And I'm very excited to find out more about the other singles, some of the other tracks off of Dream Riot, including more about the song that we're going to play for you very soon, right away here. That, of course, being A White Rabbit. But before we do that, we have to go ahead and pay a few bills. So first off, I want to go ahead and shout out, well, you guys know what it is, www.ilovedtp.com. And why is that? I may have to put that on like a t-shirt sometimes, just like a why is that on a t-shirt. Yeah, so anyway, why is that? That's because ilovedtp.com is the best place where you can go ahead and support the Desert Tiger podcast. Because, like I said, not only is it the best place where you can support the show, it's also where you go, so you can go ahead and cop some Desert Tiger podcast gear and rep the show every single place you go in front of your friends, your family, and even your enemies, because screw your enemies. And yeah, you know what it is. So head on over to ilovedtp.com. There's going to be some new stuff coming here at like the end of January, so keep your eyes peeled for that. You guys know I'm going to let you know when that happens. And of course, a word from our other sponsors as well before we go ahead and jump into White Rabbit. Do you happen to be a business owner looking for a new logo? An artist looking for some new cover art? A YouTuber or a Twitch streamer who's possibly looking to add some pizzazz to their page? Maybe a podcaster who's looking for somebody to clean up and edit their show? Well, sometimes you might be a little bit too busy to do these things yourself. Or maybe you just need to find the right quality creator so that you can help delegate your to-do list so that you can excel at what you do best. And let me tell you, friends, this is where Fiverr is going to help you out. Fiverr is the world's largest and most affordable and easy to use digital marketplace where busy professionals such as yourself can choose from thousands of talented freelancers in over 100 different categories like graphics and design, video and animation, music and audio, digital marketing, to name a few of the wonderful services that you can find on Fiverr, and it's so easy to use. You just visit Fiverr. That's Fiverr, Fiverr. Don't forget that second R, and search whatever it is that you happen to be looking for in that handy dandy search bar that's going to pop up right in front of you, and bang. Tons of professionals ready to handle whatever it is you need. You want to refine your search? Go ahead and find the perfect freelancer to help you raise your vision to the level that you truly see it achieving. You can do so at Fiverr. Once again, that is Fiverr.com.
Even the trees don't want you. Even the wind doesn't pick you up. Even the birds won't take you. Even my storm can't light you up. Well, I don't think we have it. You're not my white rabbit. News for you, the brushes off. You couldn't kick the habit. Had to go and grab it. I'ma have to cut you off. Well, always it's all about you, all about you. This time, no. This time, no. And always you find your way through, find your way through. And this time you don't, this time you don't. Even the leaves won't catch you. Even the stream doesn't sweep you up. Even the bees can't hurt you. Even the falls can't shore this up. Well, I don't think we have it. You're not my white rabbit. News for you, the pressure's up. You couldn't kick the habit. Had to go and grab it. I'ma have to cut you off. Well, always it's all about you, all about you. This time, no. This time, no. And always you find your way through, find your way through. And this time you don't, this time you don't. Always it's all about you, all about you. This time, no. This time, no. And always you find your way through, find your way through. And this time you don't, this time you don't. I don't think we have it. You're not my white rabbit. News for you,
The Desert Tiger Podcast.
So let's dive into a little bit of the depth of the other songs, the other singles that you've released so far. We talked a little bit about the Don't Know Me Without You, the video, but let's dive into the actual lyrics and what the song means to you and how it came together.
Well, I'm going to pass over to Lexie. Because
John doesn't know lyrics. He's got drummer brain.
I literally am the worst. I have the worst memory for lyrics. I can barely remember nursery rhymes. Like, that's how I am.
Yeah, we make the vibes. John makes the beat. We make the vibes together.
But when we play, funny enough, I couldn't tell you the lyrics like right now, but when we're playing, I always sing along to her lyrics. I just know them only when I'm playing on stage with her. It's super weird.
Yeah.
I have no idea why, but
yeah, it's in the moment, I think. So Don't Know Me Without You is about the two sides of the self, right? So we tried in the video to create that light and dark. And even the two me characters are dressed in light and dark. Like there's that motorcycle chase of me chasing myself. And like it's all really lavish and dreamlike because like if you're going to be doing a car chase, why not rent a Porsche? You know what I mean?
Right.
I wish I could have taken it home. But but 'cause we wanted to make it like spectacularly beautiful, but at the same time like have that dark edge to it. And going black and white was like a shock for us. But you know, now we've lived in every single world. Like I've definitely dreamt in black and white before. So, you know, why not bring it to life now? The two dancers and everything that you mentioned with that push and pull of their moves, like, so none of that was choreographed, unlike a lot of the other pieces we've done. And we've had dance in almost every one of our music videos other than that one, including that one. But it's the first time when we've had dance that's been just totally off the cuff. So they moved to the music. They met before. They knew each other. And we just made sure to cast two people who were like pretty much the same height and build to make sure that it was directly like showing the audience that like I am playing with myself here. I'm fighting with myself here, like all that. And you can really see in their movements that they were inspired in the moment by that like love and hate thing. Because in ourselves, we have all of that. Like, I don't know one person that's just always happy with themselves all the time. And if they were that way, I probably would not care to know them, right? There's not a lot of depth there. So in the song, it talks a lot about that. It talks a lot about just the journey of, I guess, finding yourself and not knowing the one side without the other. So that's sort of the epitome of it, is that like there are two sides to every story. There are two sides to every coin, and that it's not all good without the bad, right? So like even when you're on an upward trajectory, along the way you're going to find these big dips, and they might be mental health dips even. They might not even be like, oh, and then the stock market crashed. You know, like it might be like really inside yourself, and it might be hard for other people to see. And ever more these days, even on social media, ironically, people are like they're checking in more with other people to sort of say like, hey, how are you doing? Which I think like originally supposed to be the beauty of those things, of social media and being able to reach each other at all times, because we do feel so alone a lot of the time, right? So that's sort of what it's about, not knowing one side of yourself without the other, and being able to live with both those things and in the end embrace them.
Yes, it's sort of that yin and yang where you can't have balance without the other portion of yourself.
Totally, because the dark side, like, it's not worth trying to present an image that's all light if there's so much of that in you. Like, I know, like, for me, I can't speak for anyone else because I'm only myself, but I know for me specifically, like, there's a lot of, like, dark shit that floats around in there. I mean, how are we going to make these creepy-ass videos without that, right? So... And that dark stuff, like, it comes very much into our music, and it's ever present, and it's like I have the same struggles as the next guy does as far as mental health and like trying to figure out what I want in this world and trying to figure out like what makes me happy and what my purpose is, what my journey is. And we're trying to like show in this video and through the lyrics that you're on the journey all the time, and that like when you do figure it out, it's all about embracing it. And that, again, that's why it's black and white. The yin and yang is the perfect way to describe that, because it's just like we live in a black and white and gray world sometimes, specifically today. Oh my God, it's so great. But yeah, it's about finding those moments of like, I can live with this and I like who I am, even all of it wrapped up together, even the darkness.
Well, and that's good that you can come to accept that, especially in your mental health.
Well, we're working on it, but yes, that's what I want to come to accept.
It's always an ever-present battle for sure, but once you can learn to accept the darkness is a necessary part, that is always a crucial part, because a lot of people spend a lot of in-time fighting against themselves.
Totally. Absolutely.
Okay, let's touch on White Rabbit. I have a feeling you already said there was an environmental song on this album, and then based on the video, seeing like the shovel and the dirt, I'm guessing White Rabbit happens to be that track.
Got it. Winner Gagnon. Yeah. So White Rabbit, with the idea behind like specifically that lyric choice, like the actual White Rabbit and that imagery is drawn from Alice in Wonderland, but of course we did it in a very like digital, like strange angular way that wasn't looking like that style at all. But it's the symbol of like, you know, we're late for a very important date, like, and we are. So the White Rabbit is there to show us, like, it's leading us, you know, down a path to try to figure out what's wrong with us right now. And what is wrong is we're not paying enough attention, in our opinion, to our future, like our planet, to what we need to be paying attention to if we want to keep having these conversations, you know? So we tried to set it in a post-apocalyptic wasteland to bring the lyrics to life, because all the lyrics are about nature and power and, you know, streams and bees and birds and all this stuff, and sort of the singularity, like the human in question being totally immune to all that stuff, just thinking that they're above it, kind of like even the bees can't hurt you. Like, well, they can't, and it'll hurt you when they're gone, right? It's not the sting of the bee we're talking about. It's like, okay, when all the bees are gone, like, then what? Then we can't pollinate things, and there will be no future cycles on this planet, and it's really all going to fall apart, because it's just such a delicate, like, tightrope walk that we're doing right now with the environment, and just even, like, what's happening in the States right now, and, like, these, like, you know, World War III memes I keep seeing, like, so we laugh at them to get through the day, but then maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, the devastating effects that something like a war would have on our planet this time are just like, it would be over. You know what I mean?
Or the frustration of having, you know, the threat of war to distract us from solving the environmental.
So, yeah, solving these problems that are like maybe a way bigger battle that's raging here, you know, between like corporations and like the greater good of the planet, these kinds of things.
And it happens everywhere.
It happens everywhere, exactly. And yeah, so we try to keep it very, very futuristic looking and sort of barren and wasteland. And like you could see there's like little plants around, but like mostly it's over. And sort of this is sort of like, this is what's going to happen if we don't do something about this right now. If we don't draw attention to this right now, if you think that you're above it, like, if you think you're invincible kind of thing, and that's part of the lyrics too, like, then what will we have? What will there be left?
You're going to enjoy your life in a hole, a smoldering hole.
Couldn't kick the habit, had to go and grab it. I'm going to have to cut you off. So that's kind of Mother Nature's message to the people who are like, I'll just, you know, I'll deal with this tomorrow. You know, I'll continue to buy like hideously plastic wrapped things just because it's more convenient, like those kinds of ideas and ideologies. And like, it's not about like everybody doing it perfectly or even anybody doing it perfectly. It's about everybody doing it at all. It's about everybody starting to like make changes in their own lives, even small ones, to try to make it more sustainable for the future.
Mm-hmm. And even with something right now with like, say, Australia, where you have those people who, like, there's even people in Australia, I was going to say people outside Australia who are saying, well, it's not here. And I mean, that's very, very ignorant, because A, it's cutting off your oxygen, and
Totally.
B, like, if it did happen here, you would wish that somebody was coming in to help you, and you would be crying for help. But because it's not you, for some reason, you think that you're above this. And at the same time, that's exactly it, because like, they're not looking at the long-term aspect of this, like the amount of wildlife, the amount of trees which help cleanse our oxygen, which, like, the amount of people on Earth, there's already like how much pollution going on. We need that clean air.
Exactly. Or we won't be able to breathe, let alone sing. And
my brother lives in New Zealand. He lives in Queenstown, and at New Year's, all the smoke had drifted across the ocean and caused like a sun flare, Armageddon sky,
orange sky.
Yeah, it was so super unnerving, and
and like apocalyptic. And we're like staring down the barrel of that right now. And here's the thing, like, I'm not an expert in this by any stretch of the imagination, but it is more than on my radar. And to all the people who are like, this isn't happening, like, if you're wrong, the consequences are insane. And if you're right, there is no consequence, right? Like, if we do something about this now and it isn't actually an issue, like, fucking yay us, right? But but like, if we don't do something about it now, and you're wrong that this is indeed a big issue, what are you going to say then? Like, you're going to say, like, oops, like, there's nothing wrong with trying to make a difference, and it's like super selfish to not address it,
Well, they say is a pinch of prevention is worth a pound of the cure, and especially with something like this where maybe necessarily a cure maybe doesn't exist at this moment in long term if things continue down a certain path, that it's a very, very, very hefty cure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for what? So we can eat, like, yeah, it's crazy. The reason for it is it's not a good enough reason to risk the ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a convenience, or I want to, I should be able to consume whatever I want whenever I want, right?
Yeah.
No, absolutely. It's
not
ignorance.
worth it. Next.
Yeah, it's going into much business, but it was a fun video to make. I'd say it was the messiest video. It was so dirty in that hole, but
oh my gosh, that hole is insane. So the story behind that hole, just because it's an interesting tidbit, that is our producer Mark's like house to be, which has been a hole now for like 4 years due to some like
you said no studio for 4 years.
Very bad advice basically that he got. Yeah, so that's just like that hole is like in the High Park area of Toronto. It's just been there forever. Isn't that
That's
funny?
hilarious.
It's his house. Yeah. So
where we're sitting,
he lives in that hole. No, he doesn't.
Where we're sitting down there in the corner of that is where his he's designed a beautiful studio, and it hasn't been like it's a hole. It hasn't come to light for.
So one day we're gonna sit in that hole when it's not a hole and make you more beautiful. What do you think about that? If the planet doesn't fall apart first. There you go. Well rounded.
And then we might be living in the hole.
And then we might be living in the hole. Yes.
Grounding for squirrels.
Yeah. Jeez. You've got a great laugh.
That's fantastic. All right, so Dream Riot, it drops. Well, this episode is going to drop on Friday, January the 17th, the day the Dream Riot comes out. Woo!
Oh, heck yes. Amazing.
Yeah, so now that the album is out, a little behind the scenes, we're recording this like a full week beforehand, but now that the album is out, or you guys are in that hype mode, do you guys have like any other singles that are going to be coming out? Any big plans and possible tours in the near future? What's the next step for Featurette once Dream Riot is finally out and in everybody's hands and streaming services and all that good stuff?
Well, I think we have a plan to do our due diligence with servicing the album, seeing where it leads, just like we did with Crave. I think we have the next day on the 18th we're playing an outdoor festival just outside of Toronto, like
Winter Song in Stouffville at 4:30 on the main stage for free.
For free.
Doing a bunch of those things, and I think in terms of other singles, like Lexie and I are still writing. We have other plans for future Featurette, and we can't really spill the beans, but we are going to.
We are releasing a single on the 17th, though, that is like the album feature. It's called You Do You, and it is by far the most positive song on the track by a mile. And yet still somehow I can spin it back to that dark place. Watch me do it. It was written for a fan of the band who is now a very close friend of the band named Sarah, and I have her permission to discuss all the following topics. But she's in high school, and she's like super young still. I think she's in grade 10. And she has been dealing with a lot of like bullying and depression and anxiety. And things that many of us go through in high school, but maybe more than most. And that really resonated with me when she told me these things, because I had the same experience. High school was a super hard and very dark time for me. I would sit by myself writing music all the time, by myself at every opportunity, in all those times when they're supposed to be social with your friends, because it didn't really have that many. So when she told me this, I really felt for her and was immediately inspired to write a song about it. And, weeks later, I was taking a bath, and You Do You lyrics hit me over the head like a crap ton of bricks, and I bounded out of the bath and nearly slipped and killed myself in an attempt to find my lyric book to write it all down. And I had basically that song word for word and the entire melody, and it just came from I don't know where. We produced that one, pushed it through super quickly, and it's now the album single, the feature single, and it deals with all those issues. So true to Featurette form, we've made a music video on it in an abandoned police station right near where I live, actually, and we invited all our friends out with the promise of beer to be in this video, and basically it's all different people from all walks of life sort of showing their best selves, and the idea is to send this girl Sarah a message that you can do it, you are enough just the way you are, and showing her these role models to get her through that, because we all went through tough times and look at us now kind of thing, and that's going to be you super soon, and all you have to do is just focus on being yourself, because everyone's going to love you.
And I think the tough times are the things that actually make people interesting too. Just if you, I said to her, if you peak in high school, you did life wrong. You know what I mean? There's a lot more to.
There's so much more to life.
So much better when you're done.
Yeah. So that's our biggest plan, is to focus on that single and really get it out there and get her message out there, because I think she's got a beautiful story, and I think it's time for us to tell it together. So.
Hey, as someone who also had a rough experience with his high school time, I thank you for being someone who's willing to go out and do that. And it's very true, John, what you say, where yes, when you're in high school, you're 14 to 18, and at that point, yes, that is a large chunk of your life. At 18, that's almost 25% of your life, maybe just under that. But once you get out of that, you realize that those 4 years can be very minuscule, and those people that are holding you back and holding you down, they don't have to carry with you forever. And that's a truly beautiful, beautiful thing.
Totally. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we tried to capture in that song. I think you're really going to love this video if you had a rough time in high school. I think it's kind of it's very some of these rooms in this police station look just like classrooms, and it's kind of people doing their thing, whatever their thing is now, in these rooms, and just killing it. You know what I mean? Because they've grown into such a better thing, and it's cute. You do amazing things with your life, and friggin' so are we. So screw that high school bully. We don't need them no more.
No, we don't.
I think everyone that did a cameo in this video has a lot to say about the trials and tribulations of growing up and becoming an adult. So it's just out there with the people that we just put kind of a general all-purpose bulletin out to all of our friends. Hey, who wants to come over?
And everybody was I can get behind this 100%.
That's good.
Yeah. So
it's cool to see that all of our friends were there, but of the friends that were able to make it, all of them had they have a pretty interesting backstory. So
yeah, I hope you love it.
I'm sure I absolutely will, and I hope that the listeners of the podcast go out and check it out for themselves too. If the listeners of the podcast want to find out a little bit more about Featurette, where can they go in order to do so?
Our music will be available on anywhere you listen to music, all streaming platforms. The project is obviously called Featurette, and most of our handles on all social media would be Featurette Music, at Featurette Music. Yeah, we're not hard to find. Our SEO is pretty good.
Oh, yeah. Fantastic. All right, so I usually like to try and end things off with a final question, and I definitely wanted to touch on that bullying thing, because I could feel the emotion in your voice as you were bringing that subject up, and it really moved me. And I know that we touched on it a little bit, and you're going to have more of that message coming out soon for the people who might be listening right now, but say that maybe there's another high schooler who's out there listening to this podcast and hears the music of Featurette. Is there something that maybe you guys could say or have to say, like a message to that young individual to help them fight through that moment?
Yeah, I think it's really important to realize that, like, in a way, we're not special. Like, none of us are special. Like, it's all happened before and it'll all happen again. And it's not you who's alone in this world singularly going through this thing. Like, you look to the person next to you and they've got a story just as painful or just as deep or just as torn up as yours probably. And I think just like taking yourself out of that like spotlight, you know, in our own heads, and like getting away from ourselves originally when we're just like so caught up in our own trouble, you know, like realizing that everybody is going through their own stuff and that bully might be hurting just as much as you. I'm not saying you need to be friends with that bully. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the reason they're causing pain is because they're probably in their own, right? And just because you're the underdog doesn't mean you're going to be that way forever, and that you can choose to be whoever the hell you want to be, which is, you know, that's part of the journey I've gone on with this whole Featurette girl thing. Like, I wanted to be an extrovert. I wanted to be able to just like pack that punch and like deliver the words I want to deliver, but I didn't have the voice of myself to say it. So I created a character where I could, you know, and you can too. Like, we all will afford our own opportunities. We'll all make our own breaks, and we have to without that, like, you're the only one who's going to stand behind you. So find your network and grow yourself. And if you need help, I'd love to chat about it.
Fantastic. Thank you guys so very much for joining me here today on the Desert Tiger podcast.
Colton, thank you for having us. This was so special. I love this. This is a great interview. Thank you.
I had a wonderful time as well, and I can't wait to hear the rest of the album and see that new music video.
Amazing. Let us know what you think of it, please.
I definitely will.
Amazing. We'll have a less gray day than us, and we will try to make the sun come out over here.
Slip all the way down, give up the flower ground, throw a bunch, give them attitude. Girl, it's time to make it move. You get yourself up, you make your own luck, make a song, make it long, sing it out of tune. Baby, get into your groove. 'Cause girl, you make your breaks, even if you run into mistakes.
The songs that you heard on today's episode of the Desert Tiger podcast were, in order, Million Things, White Rabbit, and the song that you just heard was You Do You, which happens to be Featurette's latest single. It just released today, as well as their new album, Dream Riot. You heard all about it in our conversation here today. Well, you can now find the entire thing on, well, whatever your favorite streaming service is, so go ahead and check it out as soon as this episode is over. You're gonna have a damn good time while you're doing it, because you know that's exactly what I'm doing this morning. I'm checking out Dream Riot, so why aren't you checking out Dream Riot? And of course, if it isn't January the 17th, this album has been out for a while. What are you waiting on? Get on it. Alright, I want to go ahead and give one last big old thank you from the ambush here at Desert Tiger to John and Lexie of Featurette for joining us on today's episode of the podcast. And I also want to go ahead and thank Cassandra and the team over at Strut Entertainment for helping make it happen. You guys have heard me thank Strut in the past, and I am extremely looking forward to continuing to work with them in this new year. I also want to go ahead and thank you, that's right, you, the listener of the Desert Tiger podcast, for tuning in to today's episode of the podcast. If you're new here, maybe you want to go ahead and consider hitting follow or subscribe. Maybe you enjoyed today's episode enough that you want to share this episode. I would be extremely ecstatic if you did choose to do so. And maybe you just want to take that extra steps further. Well, those things could be maybe going and giving us a 5-star review on iTunes or Apple Podcasts so you can help the show chart, which helps us get more listeners and in turn bigger and a better guests. Or you can head on over to ilovedtp.com and you can copy yourself some sick Desert Tiger podcast merchandise for yourself so you can rep the show every single place that you go. That's right. And of course, you can also support our other wonderful sponsors today. You heard who they were earlier in this episode of the podcast. And yeah, we actually also released a vlog this week. It is the first of our installment of the Desert Tiger podcast vlog. Like I said, we've been talking about adding video to this baby for a while. Well, guess what? I stepped on it. We stopped procrastinating and we started doing. So if you head on over to our YouTube page, that's Desert Tiger Ent, being short for entertainment, that's right, Desert Tiger ENT, you can go ahead and find that vlog for yourself. You can also find it on our Instagram, I believe, and our Facebook as well. So why don't you go ahead and check that out? Subscribe to us on YouTube as well. That would be fantastic. I would be extremely ecstatic if you chose to do so. All right, everybody. I actually haven't chosen who's going to be on the podcast next week, so no hints as to who that might be yet. So I'm just going to leave you with the usual of go and find your mountain, climb your way to the top, and sing from its peaks in the most beautiful voice that you have, because you do have a beautiful voice, because you are an amazing person. And don't let anybody else knock you off of that mountain, because they can't. They can't, because they're on their own mountain trying to climb their own thing, and if they're trying to knock you down by throwing rocks, that's because they haven't figured out how to climb to the top of their own mountain. I'm going to stop this rant right here before I just keep going. So, with that, you are the ambush. You are also very beautiful people. And until next week, bye-bye.